Hey everyone, this is Amanda, the Emotional Strength Trainer. It is time for another weekly energy session. I enjoyed having a go last week rather, in the exciting festival that was being held in the group. So it is my turn to have another go this week to help you with the energy that you may have lived through. So I'll just wait for a couple of people to potentially come in and we'll see how we go with this week's energy session. If no one comes in, that's okay. You can, and you're watching the replay, make sure you have a heap of water with you. It's important to have your hydration going as you make sure the energy has somewhere to flow and where to go through the group. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're working with here. I'll introduce myself. My name's Amanda. You'll see my name is Amanda AF. They're my actual initials. So I just discovered a couple of years ago how groovy they were, so I decided to use them. I am the emotional strength trainer. I have this therapy that I've developed over a number of years now. So at the basis of it, I'm a shaman, I'm an energy healer, and I'm also an advocate of a thing called the Trio of Health. The foundation of this work is that trauma makes you sick, and trauma means different things to different people. So I have done my best over the last 11 years to try and be that voice of reason and that bridge that tries to help people understand that you can have both successfully. That is traditional medicine and natural medicine and the now age, what we're living in now, to be able to merge the two or the three together with a healthy dose of spirituality. You can achieve amazing things in your health and well-being. And that's the other part, bringing the ability to be very resilient and to go through whatever life throws at you without plunging into fear or the depths of depression if you're looking at going backwards, or the depths or the peaks of anxiety if you're going forward. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge our ancestors. I am a descendant of the Yuin people, the Yuin Nation, which is in New South Wales in Australia. I'm currently in southeast Queensland, doing my best to self-isolate and do all the things that everyone else in Australia is doing. So what I'm going to do today is what I call a demanking, and it's a word I made up. Demank means to take away the mank. And the energies of last week, with the things that have shown up, it was a particularly hard week. So what happens when we live through these things, and especially from a collective point of view, those things land and find cells within your body. Now, I am an advocate of that we have a luminous energy field. So you have your energy body, your auric field, and then a luminous energy field. And that can sometimes house some of the trauma, especially if you have people around you that are going through trauma. I know there's a lot of trauma going on globally. So as you're arriving, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, and we can get cracking. I'm going to say an affirmation to start the process, and it's the part there where I would like you to take some deep breaths to ground yourself and to allow the energy to do its thing. Thanks, Josephina. So when I do this work, I set an intention that everybody's energy that watches and listens is protected in its own individual bubble, so that we have that capacity to go into these spaces and not let other people's stuff land or touch, because we've all got energy threads, and if they find matching energy threads, that can sometimes lead to overwhelm or feeling like you can't sit in a space safely. So that's a very big intention that I set before I start this work. So you're safe to listen to this, and when I put you into the collective consciousness, I call it the greater whole, so it walks into my mind's eye. You will be safe to just be in that space for yourself. This cannot hurt, harm, or hinder you in any way. It is provided from a place of unconditional love of self. I grew up in North Brisbane, Amber. How exciting. So you are going to experience it's a very unique process. I ask to be shown trauma, and because of the shaman aspect of what I do, it comes in different ways. It can come in the form of an animal. It can come in the form of a color, a plant. Sometimes and most times it comes in like I see the body. I feel things, so I share what I'm feeling. So again, it may be a new process to you, so I just ask for some open-minded energy associated to what you're about to hear, and enjoy the experience, and let's see how we go. So this will just be, that's another important point. My work is backwards. Okay, so what I know is that we live through things and it leaves a mark. So this work heals what we've lived through to enable us to stay in that place of calm when something new comes up, because it takes away triggers, it takes away the impacts, all of those sorts of things. This is my life's work. I was born to do this, and I love it the most of everything on the planet, and I'm grateful to you for being here and watching the session. So let's get started. Make sure you're comfy. Make sure that you can feel the part of your body that's either sitting down or lying down, in your chair or on your bed or wherever you're sitting, in your car even. And just become present in the moment as I say the affirmation that I'm going to say for you. Nice big deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, let's go. In God's light, I request that all known and unknown negative images, unhealthy beliefs, destructive cellular memories, and all physical issues associated to the collective consciousness be found, open, and healed. I ask that the information be provided in a clear and concise manner that's easy to understand, and I'm specifically shown what is no longer in the collective's highest and greatest good. And for anybody that may be listening or listening in the future, please show me what needs to leave by bringing it to the surface so that it may be swept away for all eternity. Thank you for supporting us in the week ahead to allow us to step into our conviction, our reason for being here, and to know that we're on purpose no matter what shows up in our life. Thank you for giving us the strength to keep carrying on through what is difficult times. Thank you for making today's session 100 times stronger than normal. Alrighty, I'm just going to keep my eyes closed here for a second. Make sure you're still deep breathing. Just going to ask the greater whole to walk into my third eye. Okay. Okay, so the picture that's just come into my mind's eye is, it's a human form. Generally speaking, 98% of the time, the greater whole will always walk in as a human. The thing that's happened this time, and again, I must specify that the greater whole has walked in. It hasn't struggled. It's very definite in its walking. But the thing that is showing up here is that there are like concrete blocks on your feet. Now, they're not big, deep ones that are causing your legs to try and have to pull them through. They're an inconvenience on your feet, and they're kind of like a square block on your feet that's enough that your ankles can't move properly. So this is a part of the session where I'm being shown a picture, and then the focus becomes a body part. So I have a number of resources that I use around getting the information about what emotions are attached to those body parts, or what emotions are being spoken of when an animal comes in, or a plant or a color comes in. So this is how I join the dots to try and get you the bigger picture of what's being healed here. So the thing that's showing up for me the most is the feet. The feet are restricted. When you leave your footprints in life and those sorts of things, it's kind of like you've been put in a box and there are no footprints to be had, but you're also weighed down by these concrete shoes. Now, if anyone's ever watched or been into history around how gangsters and stuff work, they always joke about, you know, getting some concrete slippers or something and then they get tossed in a river or whatever. That's the energy behind here, is the restriction, but also fear-mongering, fear-inducing energies. So I want you to think back over the last week and have a think about anything that may have shown up in your life that induced high quantities of fear because of what was going on in your life around you, and then also in the collective. So the bigger picture, where if you perhaps have people around you that are being caught up in the virus and those sorts of things. Now, the energy or the emotions associated to feet, and one of the books that I use is The Secret Language of Your Body by Ina Segal, is moving in the wrong direction, ignoring your intuition, feeling confused, lost, ungrounded, and out of touch with reality. Now, before I continue reading on, that ungrounded is a big message that is fascinating, that it's showing up that there's these concrete shoes. So concrete is made of products that you put together to make something hard and rock solid to create a foundation, don't they? So when you look at your feet are what you stand on, when you're standing on your own 2 feet, you should feel solid. But then whatever fear was induced in you last week, these concrete shoes have come along in an effort to try and make things more solid. So I want to say there's a distinct lack of trust in self. Perhaps there was a distinct lack of trust in the establishment or the people around you, or that the universe or God, source, whichever term you use, doesn't have your back. And that kind of energy, holy crap, if you have that foundation that you can't trust God to make sure that it's doing everything that it can to support your life here, and that has been infused, or there is a pattern of those kind of memories, because that's the other thing that I use in this work, is looking at patterns. And I know that we're currently working through a pattern that began in May, June of 2012. So 8 years ago, there's Gemini, Venus in Gemini energy. So there's a lot of energy going on around that, and especially from a money perspective. So healing that within yourself should allow you to get back to this calm that is yours for the taking, no matter what is showing up. Knowing and having that, because sometimes some spiritual things can be a little bit platitudey, you know, when they say, oh, where's the positive, or, you know, flip the coin, that sort of thing. With understanding and acknowledging your fears and grounding yourself in the reality of it is what it is, but I trust that everything that I need will come to me when I need it. One of my favorite affirmations is, I'm so lucky, everything always works out for me. So that's where you want to get to, and I'll continue to read this thing. So feeling stuck, bogged down, obligated to others, missing the big picture, indecisiveness, getting cold feet about a situation. I know personally myself last week, holy crap, I went through the same thing. I'm like, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to stay here? Am I supposed to have this? That kind of thing. And that's the part where fears will start to dictate what I want to call a rabbit brain. I'm late for a very important date. Alice in Wonderland. Instead of being present, instead of sitting there and knowing that everything is okay in this moment, therefore everything is okay. And that's the biggest part that you want to actually sit with. That's what's showing up for me as a blockage that we do not want to carry forward into this week ahead, so that you can be free of the burdens that can sometimes feel like concrete slippers that are meant to essentially, from a gangster point of view, help you drown. From a foundation point of view, make out that it's stronger for you to be able to walk and to stand with these things. But actually, as a human, you're not built to wear concrete blocks on your feet. You're built to allow your ankles to do the work. Your ankles and your feet, then together with your legs, then your hips, allow your structure to walk forward in the direction that you want to go in. So this is also clearing out any confusion that you may have lived through last week that is preventing you from being solid in who you are right now and having that conviction of, I haven't come this far to give it all up. So perhaps that's a message for anybody that has been questioning or wondering what they're supposed to be doing or how they're supposed to be operating, where they're supposed to go to from here. Part of the energy, as much as I say this work is backwards, the picture that I just got in my mind's eye is that we have to surrender. We have to surrender to what's showing up, how it's going to show up, and that faith and trust in ourselves. One of my little acronyms for my community that I use is FAT, capital F, small a, capital T, is that faith and trust in knowing and understanding that no matter what shows up, we'll get through it. Whether that's for yourself as an individual, or if you have a partner, or if you have children, if you have a close-knit family, or girlfriends, boyfriends, mates, that when you acknowledge your own stuff first, and then you can reach out to others. That's really important. Even if you have children, it's a really important energy. So I'm just going to ask if there's anything else that needs to... Right. I'm being shown the left wrist. So when this thing shows up, so wrist in this book doesn't have a left or right. So it's feeling chained, stuck, overworked, difficulty changing your mind, seeing other points of view and letting go of the pain, stress and fear that binds you, needing to be right and in control. Right, so we're preaching to me on that one as well. I form part of the collective. Control is not your friend right now. Yes, there are things that you can control in your life. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm an advocate for the trio of health. That's what this symbol is up here. You can control what you eat, drink and ingest. You can control how your structural health, like I love chiropractic, and we live with that. That's part of our immune system. And then the emotional immune system part, which is what this is, this work helps to support your emotional immune system, is to recognize that when you feel out of control, your fear receptors, which are connected to a lack of trust, are going to go off their nut. And then you try to control more things. So perhaps you escalated in your communications with some people last week, or you felt like that was it. This relationship is done because you're not hearing me. You're not able to see my point of view. All of those kind of stories that we give to ourselves and each other through these kind of fear-inducing times, these are the things that will unhinge your capacity to start to rebuild your story in this new phase that we're now living in. So you don't want to have those thoughts come up without working through them and acknowledging them. Journaling, mind mapping is really important at this time. So what I would recommend is going back through this session and looking for keywords and the emotions and the matching things. So fear and control are big matching things about what is coming up for you this time around, and do the work on it. What am I most frightened of? Acknowledging your fears is one of the most powerful ways of moving through to come back to your base of your foundation without anything trying to distract you or take you off topic. Okay? When you acknowledge your fears, they no longer have power. If you don't acknowledge them, you're like a pinball machine and they just bounce in and around and they bump on things and they'll come back and they'll say, oh, don't forget to be frightened of that. So you spend a lot of your time preparing for something that may never eventuate because you don't trust that God is looking after you, that Source is looking after you, that you, in your soul agreement with being here, will be provided for and everything will be okay in the end. That's the part that you want to get to. That's your core strength. Your core happiness comes with trusting that you're doing everything possible to break free of all of the old stories. Okay? So I'm just going to ask to make sure that those concrete shoes are off your feet. Yeah. So they now look like tissue boxes. Do you ever tissue boxes where you slot your feet into the things. They kind of sort of look like that. So your feet have just come out and you've walked forward. Here is the, and I'll finish on this. I will finish on this part of the reading. As you've come out, you've taken 2 steps forward, and then you've crumbled to your knees and you've put your hands over your face, and it's sobbing, absolute release sobbing. So here's, for my mind, what this means. You're tired, you're emotionally, spiritually, physically exhausted. There are things going on and in and around your world that you can't change because you're just an individual, and the burden of that feels profoundly heavy. Open and aware and awake people, and together with this community that has been created, and all of the elders that are speaking, and all of the people who are trying to step into the light in order to help and shine a light on the world, what is happening is that the light is shining in places that some of us didn't realize existed. And the burden as a part of the collective to see what we're actually dealing with feels like it's ripping your soul out. So with the energy of you not being in those concrete blocks, which was a change of subject from I have to focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and then standing out on your own 2 feet, what we've just healed is the pain of the solitude of that, the pain that comes with being on your own in a space where things feel very out of control, that are running rampant. So I needed to acknowledge that pain. There's a lot of heart pain that's being shifted at the moment as well, as I'm watching this pan out in my mind's eye. And this is a part of your healing too. This is healing this story, whether it is actually your story or whether it is stuff that is going on around you that has attached. There's no accidents or coincidences that you're watching this session, because at some level it's clearing away things that will allow you to step into your truth and just be that little bit more on top of your game as these next few days come. Okay? So I just need for the sobbing to stop. The other thing with the hands over the face, usually when I see that, it's associated to guilt and shame, not being able to face the world, hiding your pain. And for anyone that is going through all of these things and has that ability to feel and to tap into the collective grief that we're all going through right now, the life that we knew it has gone. It's just gone. And it is what it is. We have to do the best we can with what we have. And if that involves doing some journaling and having a good sob, let it flow, because that crying will be cathartic. Okay? For anyone that is holding on to more of the burden than you need to, it's okay to let it go. All right? There's 8 billion souls on this planet. You're only needing to worry about one, because the ripple effect associated to who you are and what you bring to the table in any form of relating experience is all you need to focus on. Everything else will benefit. Okay? Just make sure that's all done. Yes. All right. The collective whole has just stood up. And have you ever been or have a memory of being a child and hurting yourself and then having to stand up because it's time to keep going? And there's tears and it's the kind of crying. That's what I'm being shown here. You're made of tougher stuff. You're okay. So keep going. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.